Let's call the meeting of the transportation meeting of what's today, July the 26th to order.
All right.
Well,
I
the
think
only
we have the
items,
first. Go
yeah,
ahead, Chris.
the
Sorry. I
only
think you
items
just,
we have are traffic calming related. So, Dane, I'll let you take that. I think the first one is Roberts Road.
Sure. Does everyone have the staff memo, or do I need to put that up or read that for the group?
I have it.
Okay. So for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with Roberts Road, which I wasn't until we got a traffic calming request, it runs just south of Huntsville Road and connects kind of some of the Stonebridge Meadow type neighborhoods, Golf Farm Road. It's a small, barely two lanes wide. It's about 19 feet wide, and it's open ditch on one side and just kind of a rural type road that's been connected with a lot of the subdivisions out there. It's still classified as a residential linked street. So it does meet the criteria for a traffic calming. I did a traffic study out there and met the speed warrants and all that good stuff. The requester was also able to get the signatures required to meet the policy. Another kind of unusual thing about this location is that it straddles some county and city jurisdiction. So I did reach out to the county about this before we moved it to this level with the committee, and the county did request that we take a couple of the speed cushions off that are kind of on either side of the county jurisdiction, just for their concerns over maintenance. And we do have the layout too in the packet that shows 5 sets of speed cushions. We'd probably like to reduce that down to probably 1 or 2 sets, just based on some of the post data that we've recently collected on Ash Street. We'd like to kind of go smaller with the number of overall speed cushions that we installed. So that all that information's in the packet there. So I guess I'll just maybe open it up for questions or clarifications on this, or any other staff comments kind of that you want to offer in there, Chris or Terry or Jeremy.
I haven't had a chance to look at the memo in my internet. Like I said, it's not quite going. So we're Roberts Road. It's 5 speed cushions. Sounds familiar as what we did on the what was the other Ward 1 recent traffic calming that we spoke about last time? Is it kind of the similar area? Ward 1. I'm not familiar with that road.
Yeah, I can put it up for you if you want.
Roberts Road. It's like the name Robert, Robert.
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't Roberts off of Highway 16?
Yes.
So it's out in the Baldwin community, Sonia, I think.
Okay.
So, out as you're heading toward Elkins.
Toward Elkins. Okay.
It's the 2nd Street past the West Fork Bridge.
Okay. Gotcha.
Going to the right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kind of a country lane type, old type road.
Yeah. Thanks.
This is what we had looked at for a layout. And so we've got sets of 2 coming from Huntsville Road. You can see, and these are about 400 to 500 feet apart. And then this is where the county jurisdiction comes in. So we have them on either side of kind of that county jurisdiction. But I attached the email from the county asking that we omit these, which I don't feel like they're as needed because there are sidewalks for this section. And just in general, we're kind of looking at trying to use fewer, at least to start, and then just see how those are effective. And then instead of overdoing it, it's a lot easier to add more than it is to take out later, because you're doing twice as much work. So we were looking at potentially approving one or two sets in this this section right here to start. And we looked at fire access there too, because it is a little bit narrower than some of the other streets that we've done. And we feel like it's acceptable in talking with Chief Ashley about it.
So which ones would you recommend? Go ahead, Sarah.
No, I'm sorry. If I remember correctly, when you said this is kind of like a little country street, it doesn't have curb and gutter until you get to that subdivision. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, Sonia. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. I was just wondering in terms of like what you would recommend. Are you asking us, do we approve the removal, or do you want specific ones that we should remove?
Well, I don't know that we need to get so specific into which one. We'd probably look out in the field and determine exactly where we want to put them based on what maybe is next to the road. I know we were talking about the width being narrow and just looking for the best locations in the field, but it'd be in this section. So it'd probably be, we'd start with this one in the middle here, and probably the one to the south there, because you've got the stop sign up further towards Huntsville. So these two would be our primary locations that would have the most effect over the whole stretch, because they're more centered.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. I think the more stopping in the spaces in the middle will make sense, and the ones closer to the end don't make sense if we had to take some out. But I mean, I would move to leave it to the experts to decide which ones either approve but remove, but approve to remove, lower the number of speed cushions. I would move for that.
Would it be possible to take out the middle one and move the two ends closer together?
Sure. Yeah, I think those are all good options. But we can, I think with I don't know, with a motion, Chris, I think the intent is just to have this.
Yeah, I think it's to
location
approve traffic calming on Roberts Road, and pending, and I guess have the staff make the final determination about the most appropriate locations.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're looking for, is the support for traffic calming on this particular route.
Definitely. I move for that motion.
Second.
Okay. So we'll move on to this is a more general question.
I don't think we got a vote,
traffic.
did we?
Oh,
Hold
did
on,
we?
dang.
Well, sorry.
We didn't get a vote. Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
I went ahead and started the meeting because I wasn't sure, but do you want to do a vote, or I could keep on going if you got stuff. I was like, well, let's just roll.
It's just that the mayor has asked me to be at all the meetings personally.
Yeah.
And I just can't get home fast enough for a Zoom meeting, so.
Absolutely.
It's fine. Let's take a vote then. All those in favor of we had a motion and a second. So all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed indicate the same. Looks like we have no opposition, and it passed unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that's all we need on that particular item. Is that right, Dane and Chris?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So are we ready to move on to our next item then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
Um,
this is a traffic calming program update. And is that both of you or who's going to lead on that?
Dane's got that one as well.
Okay, Dane.
Yeah, I'll just kind of lead a general update. So with the program, we're still continuing to get new requests, and some of those have been moving forward with votes. Those being Harold, Stubblefield is another recent one, and North Sang Avenue near Asbel. We're gonna so those would be ones that I would expect to be coming to committee in the next month or in the future. One thing that we did do is conduct a follow-up study on Ash Street, and this was one that was recently approved by the committee, and we did put 4 sets of speed cushions on that stretch of road. We were a little concerned about the volumes on that street being higher than some of the other locations, so we did do a follow-up study, and we lowered the average speed from 34 miles an hour down to 19 miles an hour on that stretch, and it's signed for 25. And so we talked about it at our staff meeting and felt that it would be a good idea to remove one of those sets of speed cushions and then do another speed study to see where that puts us, because we feel like maybe 19 is a little slower than our desired operating speed for that street. So I just wanted to update you all on that and see if there were any comments or questions about that.
You know, Dane, I did have a lady who lives on Ash, and I cannot remember her name right now, who called me about she runs some sort of small business out of her home, and one of the speed bumps was right. She was in favor of the speed bumps, but one of them was right in front of her house, and it was very noisy, she said. And so I don't know if you've talked to this particular person whose name I cannot remember at this time. So she was
I'm
wanting to know
I'm aware of that. She's always working with her garage door open. She fixes up furniture, I think. And so I know which house it is. I don't know her personally, but I know what you're talking
Well, you know, I thought she was at the corner of Wheeler, maybe one of those houses there. But when I drove through there the other day, I did not see a speed bump directly in front of either of the houses that would be on Wheeler. So, or if I remember correctly, there wasn't one there. So I didn't know if it had already been moved or what had happened with that. So
Okay, well, that's good information. But I think we're trying to get that street closer to like a 25 mile an hour operating speed, and you know, allow people to drive the speed limit without feeling too much inconvenience. So
I do have a question about you know, we're having lots of neighborhoods putting it, you know, I like the process that we go through with the speed bumps, and it's not just a random, you know, it's got real purpose driven, and you know, that the neighbors have to be on board, and then we have to do a traffic monitor the traffic, I suppose, you know, how many cars are on there and that sort of thing. But you know, are we having, I know there are so many other things to do that we can use as traffic calming measures. Are we having any luck getting neighbors to attempt anything other than speed bumps? Because that seems to be the only thing I ever get asked for when people ask about slowing down traffic in their neighborhood, that they don't want anything other than speed bumps. And that seems kind of, I don't know, you know, we ended up back in the late 90s, we ended up with all these little concrete speed bumps all around in certain parts of the older part of town. And then we didn't have speed bumps at all for a while. So I'm kind of thinking, is there something that could be a little bit better um, utilized better for traffic calming in certain neighborhoods that we aren't really having good reception with the neighborhoods themselves, or what are we doing about that?
Yeah, I have kind of asked the same question at times, and I think it would be good to give, because a lot of streets that don't qualify, even though they might be experiencing some speeding issues in the neighborhood, it would be good to have a little toolkit for the neighborhood to, steps they might be able to take on their own, even with or without the city, that could make the street a little calmer. I've suggested that some people encourage on-street parking where it's appropriate. That's something that can help slow traffic. I think that having mature trees on your street helps calm traffic, those sorts of things, and encourage people to look at our tactical urbanism program, to look at things that they might be able to apply to do themselves. But yeah, the speed cushion seems like it's the one thing that we're able to do that's not overly impactful, and it's versatile enough where we can they're modular, and so they have a lot of advantages, but not every street's going to qualify for those.
So I would add, we have a two-step process. So the first is the neighborhood consensus that they would like traffic calming, and then we do the speed study and determine whether that's necessary or not, or whether it meets the warrants. If it does meet the threshold, then we'll do a layout, basically design the traffic calming, go back to the neighborhood and ask them to vote whether they want to proceed with that particular installation. We haven't had an instance where people said they want traffic calming, but then they see the design and say, well, we don't like that. I think if we did have that, we could look at some other options, or even if we don't. I do know on Bridgeport or on New Bridge, it was, there were some people who said, wow, we were getting, 5 or 6 speed tables, seems like a bit much. So we're kind of looking at, maybe we need to dial that number back a little bit. But I 100% agree with you, Sarah. I hate speed tables. I wish we could come up with a better solution. We've tried, we tried the planners, we've tried some other things. The one thing I would say about the speed cushions is, because they're modular, they're much easier for us to work into our work plan. If we have to build curb bump outs or other things like that, we have to, it's much more difficult for Terry's crews to find the time to do it. So it's kind of a combination of factors that the speed cushions are modular, easy to go down. They're generally accepted by the neighborhood. And I see Chief Ashley on here. They work well for the fire department. They've not had any issues with navigating through those. So for all of those reasons, we've just kind of gone with that as a preferred option. But definitely, if we come into situations where people want traffic calming, but they don't want speed tables or speed cushions, there are other tools we could look at.
I just think that is the go-to, that anybody's like, I want speed bumps on my street,
Right.
to slow everybody down. And we all know that if we can narrow the street, and in Ward 3 in particular, we have a lot of wide streets. It's when everything was built over here. A lot of the neighborhoods that were built in the 70s and 80s just have enormously wide streets. And so people don't automatically think about, well, nobody wants those planters, evidently. I didn't think the planters were a bad idea, honestly. Mm-hmm. But some of the streets in my ward just lost their minds over those planters as a trial even. I just was wondering if we had any anybody ever asked for anything other than the speed bumps, or the speed cushions.
I'm still a proponent of the planters. If you look at the ones on Wynwood, they've been well maintained and painted by the residents, and they seem to have been accepted over time. And our data showed that they're almost just as effective as a speed bump, even though they don't force you to drive over anything. So
Yeah.
I think we just
we
just have to make them look better.
Yeah, I think the aesthetics is something that maybe we could continue to work on it. And those are a little easier as well because they're precast, and all we got to do is fill them up with dirt. So any of those kind of things that we can do that are kind of modular, prefabricated, just makes it a lot easier for implementation. So Terry, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but that's
Yeah, as far as installation goes, my guys would much rather do the speed cushions than the planters. They're a bear to move. Takes a lot of equipment. But we tried those little mini roundabouts over by Mark's house, and those never seemed to go over super well. They work really
I like the one on Isla. I live on Isla. I haven't heard complaints about them in a while.
No, they're kind of accepted. I don't know what would happen if we put them back again, but those are much harder because we have to cut the street and do all that. But it just seems like speed cushions people have accepted it. It gets what they want with the least complaints, or seems to be going that route. They just put a lot of holes in the asphalt roads, so. It's like 96 bolts to hold each one of those down.
Wow. 96, is that right?
We drill them and then drive in with impact drivers, 96-foot long bolts.
In each cushion?
In each set of cushions.
Each set, okay.
Each one has 96 holes.
Well, yeah,
It takes a while.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Dane. Did you have anything else to add on that?
No, it's just a general update, and wanted to give you all a chance to give feedback on whether it's specific streets or the program kind of in general.
Does anybody have anything else to add on this?
No, I'm just really glad that it's in place, and I appreciate all the trying to get through the kinks of trying it out. And I love the idea of the toolbox of saying, okay, here's kind of the menu of items, and like even one sentence could be interesting like that, to say, well, this one involves 96 bolts or something, and then these planters are really heavy to move. If we wanted to scoot them, kind of the pros and cons, that could be kind of fun and interesting to let people know. But I do wonder, it might be too much, but let them see that menu and then go, oh, well, it'd be cool to try one of these, one of each, but maybe that's too much. But either way, introducing people to other options and whatever sounds like a good, easy way for y'all would be great. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. I guess if we don't have anything else, we'll go on to our next item then, which is our Slow Streets program update. And I guess that's you too, Dane.
Yeah, this is just, very kind of basic. So we previously we talked about the Halloween slow streets in the historic district. I'm working with Lauren with Trailblazers and some of the residents there. That's looking really good. Like we've got a lot of momentum, some engaged residents, and a plan to go forward and do that again this year. It seemed like it was very successful and well received. So we're going to look at doing that same route, with also adding in some of the residents are going to go ahead and apply for a full block party permit for Sutton. So that'll just be closed to cars. during the kind of the prime trick or treat hours. So that's looking really good. The other area that had been mentioned before in this group was the Sunset area, and we did look at a route through there, including some of Cleveland and doing a loop up there near the campus. Trailblazers has some concerns or kind of expressed some reservations about it because they're really trying to focus on areas like, for example, the last event they did was focused around the YRCC and some of those neighborhoods in that area and connecting better to the Razorback Regional Greenway. And so they are more interested in doing areas that are perhaps lower income, more diverse with some multifamily housing. They found a little bit more engagement with those kinds of neighborhoods. So I think that we're going to look at other options for a fall installation as with regards to partnership with Trailblazers, because they've really done the lion's share of the work with a lot of these. And so we're wanting to continue to work with them. And so we're interested in doing that. If there are residents from this Sunset area that would like to do some sort of a slow streets program, we can I can help facilitate that, but it might not be with a lot of support from the Trailblazers. It might be need to be more resident led. So I'll just say that.
Okay, do we have anybody have any additions that they'd like to add, or any comments, any questions for Dane or Chris on this item?
If someone's interested in doing that program on their street for Halloween, do you have a capacity already for how many you can do at a time, or how does that work?
I think we're limited by the number of signs that we can get out there for other streets, and the historic district just traditionally has such a large number of trick-or-treaters, and so if there are other neighborhoods that maybe feel like they're at that level and they wanted to do a street closure permit, those are always available through the parking department. And so that's kind of the most traditional option would be to just do a block party permit, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's a good point about the number, like for Halloween with the number of trick-or-treaters. I used to live in the historic district, and I would have 150 trick-or-treaters. They would just come in droves. Where I live now, I don't have any. So it's kind of funny. I might have 2 or 3. But so Mark, if you want to come trick-or-treat at my house this year, just drive on up. You know where I'm at.
I do. That means I can grab a handful.
You can just take the whole bowl to keep me from eating it, probably. So do we have any other comments or questions for staff? I think that's our last item. So anybody like to add anything before we close our meeting?
One last thing. I noticed that Highway 16's pretty much done. Is that the case, Chris? I mean, it looks good. We've got sidewalks now. We can walk over to the Reagan Farm and to the restaurant. Is that?
Yes.
Do they have anything else? They can't decide what speed limit is. We've got a 30 and a 35 up there right now, but I'm glad to see that it's low. Hopefully the 30 will stick.
Sure. They were changing that today, going westbound, put up a 35 there across from the 40 by the milk company.
Yeah, it sounds like they're still trying to get that sorted out, but the construction is done. So the project turned out really nice. It was, as typical on many projects like that, it looks like it takes forever, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden final paving is done and striping, and it all kinds of comes together really quickly. So it's what happened over the past month or so.
Yeah, it looks really great. I just want to say thank you for everything you've done to help work with them. And I know that light situation was really quite a little bit of an adventure, but it looks like everything is all figured out. So thanks for all your work on all that. I don't have anything else. Yeah.
So do we have an update on uh, Zion Road and that part of Old Missouri there that where the new apartments are going in. I know I've gotten quite a few comments about
Sure.
that little stretch
Yeah.
there.
So that the section of Old Missouri that's under construction by the apartments is closing. I believe that's actually starting tomorrow, and
Yeah.
they've got a week of time that it'll be closed again, but it will be completed by once it's opened back up. That work on the roadway will essentially be done. There may be some striping and other things, but that part will be done. So. Zion Road is because of that closure on Old Missouri, we'll have some signage on Zion that says road closed to through traffic. But the residents who live north of, well, basically between the Lindsay apartment complex and Zion Road, will be able to go north and get out on Zion Road and go back and forth. So I think I saw a few comments today that people were afraid they were going to be
Yeah.
trapped, but that's not the case. Zion Road is still going forward. We're looking at hopefully within about a month, the roundabout at Old Missouri will be done. And so that intersection will all be paved, and really all the work from Old Missouri back to the west will be complete. Still working on the sewer line east of Old Missouri, trying to get that in place within the roadway. That's really the big thing right now, is trying to get that sewer in place. It goes all the way up to Highway 265, basically in the road. So it'll be impacting the road up through there. Once the sewer is done and the road is put back together, then that section will come together pretty quickly as well. But still a ways to go there east of Old Missouri.
On the roundabout on Zion, do people know that, I mean, how do I phrase this? I was driving through there the other day and people were just stopping. It was like they got onto the roundabout and they were like, I don't know if I'm driving into the construction site or what. They just stopped in the middle of the roundabout. And I'm like, no, you
okay.
can't do that. Just keep going around until you figure out which way you want to go. But yeah, they didn't seem to understand that they were like trying to back up and I came through there a couple of times and I saw this 3 times where people didn't, it was like they didn't understand. They felt, I got the feeling they felt like they were going into some place that they shouldn't be going.
Right.
And instead of just going on around because it was gravel or something.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I've talked to the contractor numerous times about making sure we're putting barrels in and other channeling devices so it's obvious where people should be driving. So I'll pass that concern along as well.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions before we close? Okay. Thank you guys. Sorry I was late, but we're adjourned.